Hi class, I am your instructor, Mr. Morris, and I'm going to deliver my weekly message this week by video, obviously. Since last week we studied or we read a little bit about different learning styles and multiple intelligences. Basically, different people are good at different things. I thought it's a good idea for those of you who are visual or auditory learners, to mix it up a little bit and to do a video this week instead of writing the message. Anyway, our theme for this week is going to be on time management. Often this is the topic that a lot of you signed up for the course wanting to improve upon. What I'm going to talk about here, though, are just a few of the big ideas that we need to keep in mind when we want to improve our time management skills. Basically, time management is more than just keeping a calendar and budgeting your time hour by hour or day by day. That's definitely a helpful tool for some of you. Some of you may be able to get along fine without actually having a physical calendar. But one thing that we all need to do before we worry about a calendar, before we start putting in time for doing different things, is we have to prioritize. Basically, prioritizing by making a to-do list, whether that's a to-do list for the week or for the day. It doesn't matter. Personally, I like to make a to-do list for the week instead of day by day. I just won't keep up with a day by day to-do list. But having one for the week kind of gives me a general idea of what I want to get done. So let me demonstrate with a little analogy here. Let's imagine here that this glass is our week. This is all the time we have in our week. Let's imagine these different colored blocks. These are the most important things that we know that we want to get done in our week. And by important, I mean they're things that are probably both time sensitive, meaning they're due soon, and they're also things that we value very highly. So an example would be like a big history exam or any type of exam that's due this week, and also it's part of our education goals to succeed on this exam, so it's something we value very highly. And then all the other stuff that takes up our time, we'll say are these grains of sugar here. Now, some of this may be important things. It could be errands we have to run. It could be time we spend with friends. They could be whatever, video games, Facebook, whatever it may be. So the key thing is to make sure that we make our list, we identify what these things are, we make sure to get these important things into our week first. So we put that in, there's our history exam, there's that paper we have to write. Let's make sure we practice for that job interview. Whatever those things are, we make sure we get those in there first. So we get those in there first, they're in our week, they're in our calendar. And then we see, actually look, we have a decent amount of time left over. We have a decent amount of space left in our glass, and we can go ahead then, and we don't have to put the sugar stuff into our calendar, but we can start to find the little cracks and the gaps in our week in order to get a lot of that stuff done anyway. And the key is, since we already have the other stuff in our calendar, that when we have to do the littler things, it's probably going to be with less stress, or hopefully with less stress. Of course, easier said than done. But what happens if you don't put that stuff in, if you don't make an effort to budget that time and put that stuff in first, that's important, and you just start going about your week doing whatever comes to mind, you'll see that you'll have a harder time fitting that stuff in if it's already filled up with the less important things, right? So there's my analogy. You want your week to look like this and not like this. And finally, the last thing I'll say is, I know a lot of you live lives where there's just so many of these. There's so many important things. Now, you may put it in first, but you'll find that even by putting that stuff in first, your glass is still overflowing. I'm thinking specifically of those of you with full-time or busy jobs. a full class schedule, little kids, all those things can conspire to make it almost impossible to budget everything in a week. This is where the next tip of learning how to say no to some things, or figuring out some way to make a sacrifice or to prioritize, so that you just don't have so many of these things to do in a week. And those are going to be difficult decisions. Time management's not easy, for sure. Those are going to be things like taking less classes, or working less hours, if you can, of course, and keep your job. Finding more childcare, which can be expensive. Those are not easy decisions. But it can also start by saying no to some things that you would love to do, that you think are good to do, but with all the things you have going on right now, aren't going to allow you to do. Those could be things like taking on a volunteer position at church, or some things that sound great, but depending on who you are and what you have going on, you might not be able to fit them in. And the final thing I'll say is, like going back to last week, is to know yourself. Are you the type of person that likes being busy? Believe it or not, there's some people who do enjoy being busy, and they're good at being busy. We call them multitaskers. We tend to think that everybody needs to be a multitasker, but it's not true. I'm not a multitasker. I hate multitasking. I like teaching because when teaching, I get to focus on one thing, which is helping students learn, as opposed to a job in an office where I might have to manage doing many things at once. So are you a multitasker? Are you someone who can handle having a full glass of these things? Or are you someone who needs to take less classes at a time, who might need to take a little longer to graduate, and who might need to look for a job that doesn't involve tense multitasking? And as we talk about career goals later on, we can talk about what those types of jobs might be. All right, everybody, have a good week. I hope you get something out of some of the time management readings and exercises you do, and I look forward to interacting with all of you soon. And now I have to budget time to figure out when I'm going to buy more sugar.